The PS1 era may be long behind us, but the community is alive and thriving to this day, at least in the indie horror market. Welcome to Game Rant, and here's a few of our favorite modern horror games made with PS1 graphics. While it may seem like just another wholesome food prep and cooking simulator, Happy's Humble Burger Barn is much more sinister than it first appears. Strange happenings begin to occur throughout the night, but the player is still expected to manage the restaurant and serve customers, as if nothing odd is happening. Feed Me Billy is an interesting take on the PS1 horror genre, as it flips the script and gives the player the chance to be the one doing the terrorizing instead of the other way around. Billy is a young man who one day wakes up to a horrific flesh-eating monster in his closet, and it's his job to find and hunt down victims to feed the massive monster in order to satiate its hunger. Night Security follows the long and tedious life of a nighttime security guard of an office building. And while there's definitely some supernatural elements at play, Night Security also hones in on the harsh reality of how common overworked employees are in almost any workplace. And just as the player feels they've grown accustomed to their patrol route, the game throws them for a loop, keeping players on their toes, flashlight at the ready. Next is Deadly Night, which follows the tale of a young lady named Carol who decides to spend the night in a shady motel. After finding a back room with footage of Carol showering taken from a hidden camera, it becomes clear that the deranged motel's owner is a dangerous antagonist that the player must escape. For any fans of old-school slasher flicks who are itching for a fun thriller with matching old-school graphics and a fantastic 80s soundtrack, Rewind or Die might just be the perfect game. The player takes on the role of a video rental store employee who's surprised by a visit from a detective who reveals that every missing person in a murder case has had one thing in common: an account at Video To Go. In Parasocial, players get a taste of the elusive VTuber life and take control of Nina, a young girl who uses her 3D virtual model to stream games online. As the game progresses, she begins to notice unusual happenings around her apartment and starts receiving messages from an unknown number that threatens to blackmail her. Pigsaw, aside from being a fantastic pun, is an indie horror game that puts the player in a dystopian world in which pigs are butchers who incarcerate and slaughter human beings. The player is dropped right into the middle of the chaos right from the get-go, so time for learning is short. Paratopic is a first-person horror game that's separated into shorter gameplay segments that are all loosely connected at the end. With all the perspectives shifting from one to another and throughout time as well, the player is constantly kept in an unnerved and tense state, not having all the information or details to help fill in the blanks. Next is Murder House, a game following a news crew that travels to the seemingly abandoned house of Anthony Smith, a supposed serial killer known as the Easter Ripper. And by now, we're far enough along this list that you should know things are not going to go very well for them. And lastly is Bloodwash, an eerie first-person horror game that follows a young woman named Sarah, who ventures out at night to do a quick load of laundry at the closest laundromat. However, as the night progresses, Sarah learns about the horrific Womb Ripper, a serial killer that specifically targets pregnant women, and it's up to the player to make sure that Sarah doesn't become another one of their victims. And that's it for our list. Thank you so much for watching, and go to GameRant.com for more like this.